Germany is often seen as a symbol of wealth and success, with cities like Berlin and Munich shining as models of prosperity. But behind this polished image, there's another side few talk about: poverty that affects millions. In today's video, we'll explore the hidden reality of life in one of the world's richest nations. Subscribe to Eagle Discovery and join us in uncovering the truth. Germany's economic powerhouse. When we think of Germany, it's hard not to picture the immense strength of its economy. Germany's gross domestic product, GDP, is among the largest in the world, consistently ranking as one of the top economies globally. This powerhouse economy has earned the country the nickname the economic engine of Europe. Germany's industries are powerhouses in their own right, with key sectors such as automobiles, chemicals, machinery, and cutting-edge technology, all engineered for efficiency and designed with an export-oriented mindset. To give you a sense of just how impactful Germany is on the global stage, the country is one of the world's largest exporters, competing head-to-head with the world's economic giants like China and the United States. In fact, Germany's reliance on exports is a cornerstone of its economic success, with industries like precision machinery, high-end industrial equipment, and automotive parts leading the charge. The country's strong infrastructure and strategic location in the heart of Europe further fuel its position as a key player in global trade. Hey there, where are you from? I want to know which city you're watching our video from. Please leave a comment so we don't feel lonely. A small action like this will motivate us to make more videos. Thank you and much love to you. When it comes to major German companies, some of the world's most recognized names come from the automotive sector, such as Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz. These companies not only dominate the domestic market, but also lead the global market with their reputation for high-quality engineering, luxury, and performance. Volkswagen, for example, is one of the largest car manufacturers worldwide, while BMW and Mercedes-Benz have set the standard for premium vehicles, blending technology, performance, and design. Germany's economy is also bolstered by a strong manufacturing base, particularly in fields like chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and renewable energy. Chemical giants like BASF and Bayer have earned their place as international leaders, while Germany is rapidly increasing its focus on green energy and sustainable technology. These innovations not only strengthen Germany's export market, but also help the country stay competitive in an ever-changing global economy. At a glance, it may seem like Germany is an example of wealth and prosperity on a grand scale. Its infrastructure is top-notch, its industries booming, and its global influence undeniable. However, beneath this economic success lies a more nuanced story. While the country's large industrial sectors and strong export trade have created vast amounts of wealth, these benefits are not always equally distributed. There are significant regional disparities, particularly between the former East and West Germany, as well as income inequality that remains a challenge. The hidden reality of poverty. While Germany is often celebrated for its economic strength, there is a lesser-known reality that casts a shadow on the country's prosperity. More than 15% of its population lives below the poverty line. Despite being one of the wealthiest countries in the world, millions of Germans struggle to meet basic needs. For these individuals, even working full-time jobs does not guarantee financial stability. In fact, many people are forced to take on 2 or 3 jobs just to get by, yet they remain trapped in poverty. This widespread issue is a result of wage inequality, where the gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen. While Germany's economy as a whole thrives, with major industries like automotive manufacturing, chemicals, and technology, the wealth generated by these industries is not evenly distributed. Those working in lower-paying sectors such as retail, hospitality, and manual labor often earn just enough to survive but not enough to thrive. Even with multiple jobs, these workers struggle to cover their living expenses, which are rising in line with inflation. The problem is particularly pronounced in rural areas and former East Germany, where job opportunities are scarcer and wages are often lower. While cities like Berlin, Munich, and Frankfurt benefit from a booming economy and high-paying jobs, many other regions are left behind. The economic divide between the east and west of Germany is still felt, with former East German states dealing with higher unemployment and lower wages. Additionally, Germany's housing market has become increasingly unaffordable, particularly in major urban centers. As rent prices skyrocket, many working-class families find themselves living in overcrowded or substandard housing. The dream of owning a home has become a distant reality for many, especially in areas with high demand and low availability of affordable housing. Germany's welfare system helps mitigate some of the financial struggles for those living in poverty, offering unemployment benefits, healthcare, and pensions. However, these programs are often not enough to lift people out of poverty, especially in the long term. Despite these safety nets, the rich continue to accumulate wealth, and the divide between the wealthy and the poor deepens. The reality of poverty in Germany serves as a reminder that even in a highly successful economy, social inequality remains a pressing issue. The country's wealth may be evident in its industries and global influence, but for millions of Germans, the fight against poverty continues. All right, if you're new to this channel, Eagle Discovery warmly welcomes you. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and remember to turn on the notification bell to catch our upcoming content. Who is most affected? When we talk about inequality, it's important to recognize who suffers the most from this imbalance. Some groups face the harshest consequences, and the situation becomes even more alarming when we focus on them. One of the most vulnerable groups is migrants. Despite their qualifications, work experience, and education, many migrants find themselves stuck in low-paying jobs that offer little opportunity for improvement. These jobs often come with little security, no benefits, and long hours, leaving them struggling to make ends meet. Even those who arrive with degrees and professional skills are often unable to find work in their field due to language barriers, lack of recognition of foreign qualifications, or discrimination. As a result, many migrants find themselves in a cycle of poverty, with few chances to improve their situation, no matter how hard they work. Another group deeply affected by inequality is single mothers. For many women in this situation, it's a daily struggle to balance the demands of raising children and maintaining a household on a limited income. These women often face agonizing decisions, such as whether to pay the rent or buy food for their children. The financial pressure can be overwhelming, and without enough social support, it's easy to feel isolated. In some cases, single mothers even have to rely on charity or government aid just to survive. Sadly, society often overlooks their efforts, leaving them to shoulder the burden of raising the next generation in difficult conditions. The elderly also face a significant challenge. Believe it or not, there are older people in Germany and other parts of the world who have worked all their lives but still find themselves struggling financially. Their pensions are often too low to cover the cost of living, forcing them to live on a shoestring budget. In fact, it's estimated that 1 in 5 retirees in Germany lives in poverty, despite decades of hard work. For these people, retirement is not the time to relax and enjoy life. It's a struggle to make ends meet. Many of them must cut back on basic needs like food and healthcare, while some rely on family members or charitable organizations to get by. This is a reality that highlights the growing financial insecurity facing older generations. In conclusion, migrants, single mothers, and retirees are some of the groups most affected by inequality. Despite their hard work and dedication, they face systemic barriers that make it difficult for them to break free from poverty. These disparities are a reminder that inequality isn't just a statistic. It's a harsh reality that impacts real people, and it's crucial to address these issues for a more just and fair society. What does poverty look like in Germany? So, what does poverty look like in Germany? When you stroll through the picturesque streets of its cities, poverty is not as immediately visible as it might be in other parts of the world. In Germany, poverty tends to be more hidden, woven into the fabric of daily life. You won't typically see people begging on street corners or living in squalid conditions, but this doesn't mean poverty isn't a problem. There are areas and communities where social exclusion is more obvious, which I'll touch on later. However, overall, poverty in Germany is harder to spot, and its effects are often more subtle but still deeply impactful. In Germany, a person is considered poor if they earn less than 60% of the national average income. To put this in perspective, if the average income is around €4,000 per month, anyone earning less than €2,400 is classified as living in poverty. Now, this doesn't mean that these individuals are necessarily starving or homeless, though there are cases where this is true. The issue lies in the fact that those earning below the poverty line struggle to meet basic needs and maintain a decent standard of living. With such an income, it's incredibly difficult to afford the essentials and participate fully in society. In Germany, where the cost of living is high, especially in major cities like Munich, Berlin, and Hamburg, this income gap becomes more pronounced. Rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, and healthcare all come with hefty price tags, making it challenging for people earning less than the average to cover these expenses. Even if they don't experience the extreme poverty seen in other countries, they still find themselves living paycheck to paycheck, unable to save or plan for the future. This form of poverty often manifests in more hidden ways, such as people living in poorly insulated apartments, skipping meals to save money, or not being able to afford social activities. Many of these individuals may not be homeless, but their lives are filled with constant financial strain, and their ability to live a comfortable, stress-free life is severely limited. The truth is, poverty in Germany may not look like the poverty we often associate with developing nations, but it still exists, and it affects millions of people across the country. It's a complex issue that can't be ignored, especially as the gap between rich and poor continues to widen in one of Europe's wealthiest nations. The cost of living in Germany. Living in Germany can be expensive, and the cost of living can put a serious strain on people's budgets, especially for those earning less than the average. Housing is a significant expense. Rents in cities like Munich and Frankfurt can be sky-high, and even in smaller towns, it's hard to find affordable places to live. Public transportation costs are also high, and even basic groceries can become a financial challenge depending on where you live. While €2,400 a month may seem like a comfortable income in some countries, in Germany, it's quite a tight budget. With rent, utilities, and transportation eating up most of the paycheck, there's little room left for savings or any kind of leisure activities. This means that even those who aren't living in extreme poverty can struggle to maintain a decent quality of life. As I mentioned earlier, poverty in Germany is not always visible. It's often hidden beneath the surface, but there are certain areas where the struggles of the poor are much clearer. One of these areas is known as Brennpunkte, or critical points. These are Germany's equivalent of slums, though they aren't as severe as those in other countries. They do, however, share some similar characteristics. Brennpunkte typically consist of large, old apartment blocks, many of which were built after the wars. The German government initially constructed these buildings to provide affordable housing for a rapidly growing population and industrial workers. However, over time, these areas became home to more vulnerable groups: immigrants, low-income families, and the unemployed. What was originally a solution to a housing crisis eventually became a zone of social exclusion. Many of these buildings are in poor condition, with outdated facilities and minimal upkeep. For many migrants, these areas are often their first stop in Germany. They arrive in the country without speaking the language, lacking connections, and usually without much money. As a result, they end up living in Brennpunkte, where the rent is cheaper, even though the conditions may not be ideal. Unfortunately, the reality of living in these areas is often met with significant prejudice. Many people in the wider population view these neighborhoods negatively, associating them with poverty, crime, and social problems. This prejudice only makes it harder for people living in these areas to improve their situation and break out of the cycle of poverty. In conclusion, the cost of living in Germany can be quite high, and for those earning below the poverty line, the struggle to make ends meet can feel overwhelming. The existence of Brennpunkte highlights the social and economic divides in the country, where certain groups, especially migrants and low-income families, are left to cope with substandard living conditions and a lack of opportunities for improvement. Why is Germany so rich yet has so much poverty? At first glance, it might seem contradictory that Germany, one of the wealthiest countries in the world, also has a significant problem with poverty. The truth, however, is that there are several factors contributing to this paradox. Despite being a highly developed nation, the rising cost of living and a deepening housing crisis have left many struggling to make ends meet. One of the primary reasons for this discrepancy is the increasing cost of living, particularly in major cities like Berlin, Munich, and Hamburg. Housing, in particular, has become a huge challenge. Rent prices in these cities have skyrocketed in recent years, making it nearly impossible for people with middle or low incomes to afford decent accommodations. For example, the rent for a modest two-bedroom apartment in Munich can easily exceed €1,000 per month, and that's before factoring in additional costs like utilities, heating, and internet. These basic expenses alone can take up a large portion of a person's monthly income, leaving little room for other necessities or savings. Furthermore, energy prices have risen sharply in the wake of recent gas and energy supply crises, further burdening low-income families. With fewer options to cut back on other expenses, these families find themselves squeezed from all sides. Even grocery bills have become more expensive, with inflation driving food prices to record highs. For many, this means choosing between paying for basic necessities like food and energy or falling behind on rent and other obligations. But perhaps the most pressing issue contributing to poverty in Germany is the ongoing housing crisis. There simply aren't enough affordable homes and apartments to meet the demand. It's estimated that by 2024, millions of people in Germany will be unable to find housing they can afford, particularly in urban areas where the population is growing rapidly. The shortage of affordable housing has forced many individuals and families to spend a disproportionate amount of their income on rent, leaving little for other essentials like healthcare, transportation, and education. In summary, while Germany is undoubtedly one of the wealthiest countries in the world, rising living costs, especially in housing and energy, have made it increasingly difficult for many to keep up. Despite its wealth, the country's poverty rates are growing, especially among low-income families and individuals who struggle to afford the basics in a rapidly changing economic landscape. The gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen, and for many, the dream of a comfortable life in one of Europe's richest nations is becoming increasingly out of reach. The working poor, a harder reality. In Germany, there's another group facing an even tougher reality: the working poor. These are people who have jobs, work hard, and contribute to the economy, but still cannot cover even the basic costs of living. It may sound unbelievable, but it's a harsh truth. Despite having a wage that may seem relatively high compared to other countries, it's simply not enough to keep up with the soaring cost of living, especially in major cities. A significant number of these workers are employed in part-time jobs. While part-time work may offer some flexibility, it typically comes with lower pay, fewer benefits, and less job security. For many, working part-time means juggling multiple jobs just to make ends meet, but even that often doesn't bring in enough money to cover essentials like rent, food, and utilities. Migrant workers, in particular, are disproportionately affected by this reality. Due to language barriers, lack of local connections, or difficulties in having foreign qualifications recognized, many migrants find themselves relegated to low-paying positions with little chance for advancement. They often have to accept whatever work they can get, even if it means long hours with little pay. For many, these low-wage jobs become a way of life, with no clear path out of poverty. Single mothers, as I mentioned earlier, are also a major part of this group. Many of them are forced to juggle the responsibilities of work and childcare. However, part-time jobs, which are often their only option due to the need for flexible hours, offer limited income. This creates a vicious cycle. While they work hard to support their families, they often still fall short of meeting basic needs. The cost of childcare, rent, food, and other essentials can easily exceed their income, leaving them to make difficult choices every day. The reality of the working poor is a stark reminder that having a job is not always enough to escape poverty. Even in a wealthy country like Germany, the high cost of living, combined with low wages for many workers, means that some individuals and families find themselves struggling to survive despite their efforts. The idea that hard work should lead to a better life is not always true, especially for those caught in low-wage, part-time jobs with no prospects for improvement. For them, the dream of financial security remains out of reach, no matter how hard they work. The reality of wealth inequality in Germany. Germany is undeniably a rich country, boasting one of the strongest economies in the world. But beneath this image of prosperity lies a harsh reality. Wealth in Germany is not evenly distributed. While some people enjoy luxurious lifestyles in exclusive neighborhoods, others struggle just to get by, often relying on assistance or barely managing without it. This stark contrast is a defining feature of modern Germany, yet it rarely receives the attention it deserves in the headlines or mainstream media. The divide is most evident in the gap between the wealthiest and the poorest citizens. On one side, there are individuals and families living in affluence, often in gated communities or upscale urban districts. They have access to the best healthcare, education, and opportunities that money can buy. Their homes are spacious, their careers secure, and their lives largely free from financial worries. On the other side are those who face constant challenges just to cover the basics. These are the people living paycheck to paycheck, or worse, falling into debt. They might live in crowded, poorly maintained apartments, struggle to afford proper health care, and face limited opportunities for education or career advancement. For them, the dream of upward mobility feels increasingly out of reach, especially in an economic environment where the cost of living continues to rise. One of the most striking aspects of this inequality is how hidden it often is. Germany's strong social safety nets, such as public health care and unemployment benefits, can obscure the true extent of financial struggles faced by many. Yet these safety nets are not always enough to bridge the gap. The wealthiest enjoy privileges far beyond the reach of average citizens, with their fortunes often growing through investments, real estate, and other assets, while the working poor and low-income families struggle just to stay afloat. This wealth disparity is not unique to Germany, but it feels particularly jarring in a country renowned for its economic strength and high standard of living. It raises uncomfortable questions about the effectiveness of policies designed to reduce inequality and promote social mobility. Why does a nation with such vast resources still have so many people unable to share in its prosperity? The reality of wealth inequality in Germany serves as a reminder that even in the world's richest countries, there is still work to be done to ensure that everyone has access to the same opportunities and quality of life. It's a global challenge, and Germany is no exception. Addressing this issue requires not only awareness, but also meaningful action to narrow the gap and create a more equitable society for all. Germany's wealth masks a hidden struggle, with poverty affecting a significant portion of its population. While the country stands as an economic powerhouse, millions face challenges that often go unnoticed. The divide between the rich and poor continues to grow, and it's important to acknowledge these disparities to work toward a more inclusive future. Let's keep this conversation going. Together, we can shine a light on the unseen. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about another significant issue happening right now in Portugal, click on the video that's showing up on your screen.